Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa McAllister.
And I'm Dr. Lauren Fitzgerald, and you're listening to the Made Fitz Show.
So for years, we have dedicated ourselves to giving others the tools to feel their absolute best through the power of health, fitness, and nutrition coaching, as well as both Western and functional medicine.
Each week on the Made Fitz Show, we're going to talk about everything from health trends, nutrition, topics like HRT and medical weight loss, self-care, wellness hacks, different workouts, fasting, our favorite recipes, and more.
We promise that the Made Fitz Show will be educational, entertaining, but most importantly, worth listening to each week. Now, with small, dedicated changes, you can live a healthier, more heart-filled life. We're excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are simple to adopt.
We are a certified nutritionist and a board-certified medical doctor who have a combination of over 50 years in the health and fitness world and are passionate about empowering others to take the leap and live their healthiest, happiest lives by using the tools we give in this podcast. All right, hello and welcome to the Made Fitz Show. I am Dr. Lauren Fitz, and today I have a very special guest. I have someone that a lot of people already know just because of his wife, but the man is full of wisdom, of humor, and of a lot of things that will help you. And so Mick McAllister, also known as Melissa McAllister's husband. Well, I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, you know, because when you have, you know, guests on, you need a nice little intro. And I'm like, man, there's just not, you have no words that really describe you. And I don't want to describe you as Melissa's husband. I mean, yes, you are Melissa's husband, obviously. And a lot of our listeners, you know you because of who your spouse is. But I want to just bring to the table all of the amazing knowledge that you have in your brain that I'm going to try and tap in for the next hour, because there's a lot that we got to talk about. And people will notice that Melissa is not on here with us, right?
Nope. Watching the cat.
Yep. Well, we did this on purpose because Melissa and I were talking about the fact that she thinks that you will be a little bit more unfiltered without her presence there. And so
I keep hearing this unfiltered thing, like I'm just going to show up with like a wiener thing on a stick and just say all these crazy words and phrases and offend everybody. Hopefully I do, but sure.
But that's one of the reasons that I just adore you, because you truly are. I mean, people either love you or hate you because you are exactly who you are. And you're exactly. You are so okay with that. I appreciate that. I believe that is a great trait for a man anyone to have, but specifically men today. And you have, ever since I met you back in 2015, you have been 100% authentically Mick McAllister, no matter what anyone says. So today's episode, our listeners know that we try and refrain from language, but I will warn the audience that it's very possible that we might drop some 4-letter words. So if there are kids around, and we're probably going to talk about sex today, so that's another reason why, let's put that aside, because you and Melissa have an incredible marriage. And let's maybe first start off and talking about that. But I want to tell the audience, I want to hit on a lot of things. I want to hit on the fact that you and Melissa and your marriage are incredible, but haven't always been this way. It hasn't always been a fairy tale marriage. You're incredible parents. Y'all raised 2 incredible young adults who I know personally, and y'all basically figured out how to raise kids that are contributing members to society, that are good people and make this world a better place. But you're also freaking smart in business. And so we're going to go all over the place on this episode, but I believe that there's something for all of our listeners. So I want to start off with talking about the fact that you are married to Melissa McAllister and you guys have an incredible marriage. So tell me, at what point did you know that Melissa was going to be your forever person?
Oh man. I don't know. We met so young, so it's hard to understand or to put a timeline on that. And so many things changed. Like when you think of the 16-year-old you and then the you of today, right? Like we always say, if we could just take the wisdom, it's not even wisdom. It's just like going through life and then take it back with us when we were young. how different everything would be. But then is that also what makes the person that you are today? Right. So we weigh this all the time. But when we first met, I just
how old were you?
I was 17 and she was 16.
Okay.
And so when you meet, and I always have emotion behind whenever I talk about her, and I don't know why. I mean, I do, but
yeah, you do.
So
we joked about this before, that we know that you're going to cry multiple times, and I love that about you, because again, that's just authentically.
Well, the funny thing about it is people that really know me, like I'm the biggest hard ass.
Yes, you are.
When it comes to people that deserve this shit, and then people that don't, they're in my wing.
Yep.
So, anyways, maybe we can circle back to this. You're physically attracted to people, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Someone walks down the street and you're just like, oh my God, I can see myself, doing all kinds of shit with this person. I mean, there's this like animal attraction, right? And that's what gets your first attention with anyone. Where and how the relationship goes from that point forward is a lot of work. It's work. And it's no different than if you have a job, you take on a responsibility of the job. It's the same thing. You're going to have to work to get at the top of the chain, or to get noticed, or to get a promotion. Same thing with finances. Someone doesn't stumble across financial success. How's the business been treating you? It sounds like it's good now, but how many times have you wanted to like literally blow your brains out of your head and fire everybody, disappear, get a one-way ticket to God knows where, and just fall off the planet? And this is the shit that people don't see. And I think it's what social media is ruining, like society. Completely. Because it's like, it's what's it called, the best reel, it's the best reel, it's the best scenario, it's the best this, it's the best. No one ever shows the hardship, the bankruptcies, the bouncing checks, how you had to sell shit multiple times just to make bills, and then get it all back and fight again, and then maybe there's 3 years or 5 years or 7 years or whatever that go out the window. And it sounds like I'm exiting or not talking about relationship, but relationship's exactly the same as anything that you're going to focus on in your life. And maybe that's where the emotion comes from, because it's like a blanket that lays on your shoulders constantly. And it's heavy until you can understand how to control it. And I think the control that a person needs to like look in the mirror and have that one-on-one conversation with is, are you okay with yourself by yourself? Meaning you don't need anyone to complete your happiness or push your direction. I don't need Melissa to get me up in the morning and kick ass, take names, get my shit done, prioritize lists, know that it's more important for me, like today, to pressure wash the frickin' roof of the house more than it is for me to get on my dirt bike and go ride. But if people look on my Instagram, they see Mick's got all these toys, or he's got a motocross track. I mean, my God, what a spoiled son of a bitch. They don't understand that every conscious decision I make, whether it's my family, my finances, my household, my kids, all these things that are near and dear are number one. Then if there's free time, I'm like 6, 7, 9 on the list. I get a little bit from me, Yeah. And so I honestly think the biggest problem in relationship is really screwed up priorities. You're not prioritizing what is important. So when I met Melissa and I thought, oh, she looks great, I can see myself banging the shit out of this gal the rest of my life. You start having talks, and you talk about what your dreams are, what her dreams are, where's the focus, where's the direction, where are we going, where do we want to go, what are the big dreams. And dreams are great, but it's kind of like shit in one hand, reality in the other. Unless you can learn how to clap, it doesn't matter. You can just keep talking and weighing and weighing. Put your goals over here, make your goals so heavy that you're never going to be able to take from this side to put to this side. Right.
Right.
So we had all these talks, and Melissa she's been nicknamed, like, especially with Beachbody, right? Over the 15 years of her crazy domination, the silent assassin. Like, you don't know what's coming. She will mop the floor with anyone in any category that she wants to dominate in. If she's behind it, she will learn about it. She will outlearn you, outread you, outfunction you, outwork you, and outsmile your ass and out like everybody else. I mean, she's so likable. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Where I truly lucked out is finding someone that everybody on this planet every time I run into someone, it's like, oh my God, I love your wife. Oh my God, your wife's amazing.
You're like, yeah, tell me something I don't know.
But now they say that about my son, and they say that about my daughter. And that's so huge as a man. And you know, okay, every tough guy, look, I got tattoos and sleeves because I'm trying to look tougher, right? No, I'm kidding. But every tough guy's dream, when you get to the core of them, is they want to know that, not even that they made a difference, but that everybody in their life is balanced and taken care of, and they're going to be fine, you know, on their own. And if you think that you're doing something right in your life, in your family, your relationships, your finances, to where at any time these people need you, your mind's fucked up. That's the worst way to look at trying to create a bond. Your kids shouldn't need you. They should respect you. They should, hopefully, if you do things well enough, long enough, they should adore you. They should want to be, you know, around you. They should want to involve you, but they sure shouldn't need you. And see that in society so bad right now that, I mean, you got 34-year-olds living in their houses, for Christ's sake, you know, crazy, because parents just won't let it go, let them fail. You know what I mean? Let them be their own person. It's insane.
But I'm curious though, because I know, and maybe if you're okay with this, the audience, let them in on, you did not have the easiest childhood. And what I'm curious is, despite your childhood, you didn't repeat the ills that were happening in your childhood and probably generations before. How did you break the cycle? Because, I mean, it wasn't like you were born into the perfect Pollyanna family and privilege and whatnot. So do you mind telling the audience just a little bit about your childhood?
Sure. I had a dad that was just a crazy drunk. And it's funny because as you get older in life, you meet other people, and you can just tell from their demeanor, their language, their body language, the way they structure sentences. You're like, oh, you're a massive drunk, because they all, oh my God, they all hide the same thing. They all blame the same thing. And so I'm very pushed off to people like that. I only give them like certain space, you know?
Right.
So my dad was that. My mom was just this person that thought she would do the right thing by, kind of like I explained in the beginning, over coddling, right? She would vicariously through my sister and through me, even when we were young. When we started making choices on our own, it was massive guilt trip. Well, why would you just stay here? Or here, I'll give you a big list of bullshit chores, or, you know, whatever, just to try to stay in the house because she was miserable. I mean, good mom, you know, good mom. And she sacrificed a lot for us. So I can't talk shit on that. My dad split when we were 5 years old. When we were at church, nonetheless, we come home, the house is completely empty. Every car's gone. There isn't shit in the house. My mom was a stay-at-home mom with 2 young kids. I was 5. My sister was 7. And I mean, imagine coming home to a vacant house, right? Like, it's pretty crazy. We were kids, so we're just like, hey, what happened? We got robbed, you know? And I think my mom told us that we got robbed, and then later we figured out, you know, what the deal was. But so she never really had a job. She's stay-at-home mom. Think of a stay-at-home mom back in the 70s, right? So then she's like, holy shit, how do I pay for this house? And I remember our mortgage, and she was stressing out so bad. Our mortgage was $312. And she was stressing, like, how do I how do I do this? What do I do? How do I get a job? How do I take care of these kids? And I think her biggest concern was, how do I be away from them, earn the money, make the payments? Who's raising my kids? I mean, didn't even leave her a car. So first of all, transportation, right? So, I mean, it was pretty crazy. So that was, pretty much the start, because you don't have a lot of memories until you're like 5, right?
Right. But so literally one of your earliest memories is,
when my conscious kicks in, it's like shit show, pretty much. And I was the man of the house, meaning anything broke, I had to fix it. Any bump in the night, any whatever. I even got a paper out when I was really young to give me, I felt like, more independence, to where I could have my own money, do my own thing, be committed to something. I wanted much more than my lifestyle gave me. Even at a young age, I saw I was kind of effed. And I mean, I lie about everything. Like, I was the biggest habitual liar in junior high and high school. Like, I would tell everybody I was doing better than I did, or life at home was better. But then it saddens me a little bit, but I'm glad that it happened young, because then I was able to fix it and correct it and notice it. And then sure that shit, like you say, make sure it doesn't repeat itself. Because you gotta cut like the cancer off, and a lot of people won't. I mean, that was my mom. You could tell that she lived a really shitty childhood. And so as an adult, it was kind of like almost payback. She was leveraging her children to help her feel better. And then, she did it with her mom. Her mom was in a car accident, and she brought her mom in to take care of her mom. And that was a miserable thing. And it made her even more miserable. She always tried to do the nurture thing, but then I can't help but think it's for selfish reason too. So she's not by herself. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So that was crazy. So I had to cut. I mean, it sounds really bad, and we only have a short period of time. So just compressing all this probably makes people jump to like lots of conclusions and shit. But I had to cut my mom completely out of my life 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Because she was just dragging me down. I mean, I am, when I say ultra high energy, I am ultra high energy. Like, if my eyeballs are open, I'm a 13. I'm not a 10. I'm a 13 till I crash.
I would actually give you a 30 instead of 13.
Well, and I, my Melissa and I laugh and shit all the time, or even friends, or even my son, we talk, and I say, I literally feel like I've lived 3 lifetimes already. I'm 51. I did this whole thing where I did, car sales and commission sales and no guarantee most of my life. Most of my life, I've not had guaranteed paid positions. It's produce, get paid. Don't produce, tough shit. So that teaches you a lot too. And it teaches you how to judge and predict personality of people, believable judgy character. I think my judgy character is like, I mean, I can tell you if somebody's shady, somewhere in between. Would I trust them at 70%, 30%, 90%? I mean, almost right. Like, I've seen a lot of dog and pony shows, because I've really just been, very, very active. So that was one part of my life where I think, okay, that was a whole lifestyle or a whole lifetime, because I mean, I was working 6-7 days a week sometimes. Missed everything, missed all the upbringing of my kids. And then Melissa started Beachbody 2008. And then I feel like I started another lifestyle. Now it's like, wow, the money was getting good. We were traveling, enjoying more, time together. And it afforded us to get out, do things, have nicer things, kind of really level up, get past that bubble. Everybody has a bubble. And your bubble is only just like 10% higher than you can reach, because you've never punched through that. And then once you punch through it, you're like, I'm so freaking stupid. Like 300,000 is just as easy as 700,000, and 700,000 is just as easy as a million. And then it's just as easy to do two. Actually, I understand the ultra wealthy now, because I'm not saying I'm anywhere near that, but we do transactions now sometimes that are $1 million, and easier to do $1 million transactions with people than it is to do $5,000 transactions.
Right.
$5,000 transaction is just going to be your snivellers, your whiners, your low hanging fruit that's just pissed off because the sun's shining. I mean, they're the people that are going to roast you on Reddit. They're the Reddit people. They're all these people are just like, you're the $5,000 transaction. I get it. And then you get to like, $100,000 mark. And this is like, white collar, everybody faking it till they really make it is how I like to say it. Everyone in the 100 to 250,000 range. It's all about show. Got to have the nicest, newest car, got to have the nicest, newest house. Your leverage, your DTI is insane, right? You're living way past your means. You're just trying to prove to everybody that you got it, Then
I know so many people in that category.
Oh my God. Then you get past the category. I would say now it's probably 750 to 1 million. And if you don't believe this, you need to really research it. 1 million is the new 6 digits. Remember when we were kids, we were like, oh my God, I'd so make it if I could make 6 digits. If I was a 6-digit earner, everything would be cool. Everything would be great. I'd have all this money. It's 7 now. 7's the new 6 because $1 million, especially if you have a family of 4, that ain't shit. I mean, you want to take some trips and drive a decent car and live in a decent neighborhood. I mean, it's going to take you close to $1 million a year. So anyways, you get over the million mark and now it's people that are just throwing money at you. Banks want to do loans with me because think about it. If it's a $10,000 transaction and they're making 5%, or it's $1 million transaction, they just start drooling, right? They're like, oh shit, we can make this happen. Oh, no problem. We could leverage this and leverage that. And we can work. I mean, it's crazy. So learned a lot through the whole finance thing. So relationship in a nutshell to button that up and kind of move forward is the Beachbody thing happened. That was great. And then towards, I would say maybe 5 years into Beachbody, the income got very consistent. And so again, responsibility, head of household. And I don't know shit from Shinola. I've never been in this income bracket. Right. But I'm smart enough to know if we use it, then it's gone.
Right.
Saving it just means you're going to use it later for dumb shit. But if you invest it into other assets, now not only have I saved my money, but the money's accruing in a car, a collectible car, a collectible whatever, a watch, piece of jewelry, another house, whatever, right? It's accruing. So the money's still there. I didn't spend it. I just kind of moved it into a different category. And then these things hopefully will pop. And even if they don't pop, at least they steadily increase year to year. Because I mean, look at the price of like a Rolex, a Rolex, entry-level Rolex was like $5 or $6 grand just a few years ago. That same damn watch is pushing $20,000 10 years later. And that's a stupid watch. That's a watch. So what happens with, the right kind of car or the right kind or an investment property or a house, when you buy it cheap and do a little bit of work to it. So we bought a shit ton of properties. I think we were like 21 in like 3 or 4 years. And I have a construction background too. I did construction for several years. Early in the late 90s, I built gas stations. Weird. So
very weird.
I'm literally without tooting, I'm literally a jack of all trades. I can do anything. Plumbing, electrical, framing, concrete. I mean, whatever, landscape.
But you have no official education in any of these realms, which is the thing that I want to point out.
Started on that too. I think that's a goddamn waste of money. If you go to college, I even knew when I was 16, I graduated early. I was only 17. I'm an August baby. So I graduated early. But I even knew all my friends were like, I'm going to this college. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. And I'm like, but why? Like I was in the workforce already. When I was 17 years old, I've been in the workforce for 10 years. Route. I worked at like a Little Caesars. I worked at a Chapter 11 as a dishwasher. So a lot of times I had 2 or 3 jobs. I would babysit on the side. I'd mow lawns. I mean, I was a hustler, right? Because I saw money gets you opportunity. Opportunity gets you further in life. Further in life makes you happier. It's like, okay, I get it, And so my logistics, my common sense, I think is very well polished. And a ton of people know much more than I do. I can't tell you what's going on in the world. I don't want to know. I think that hinders my decisions. It slows me down.
I agree.
It would make me second doubt myself to hell and back on shit. Like, do I really want to put that money in there if we just bomb China or whatever the shit's going on, or there's just a big mass shooting somewhere? Oh my God, hold, wait, pause. I mean, you're just going to wait forever. So I choose to block that shit out. But I've also known a lot of people. My stepdad was like that. He knew everything about anything. One of the most educated, well-spoken, high vocabulary, high grades. Yeah. Always made fun of me, when I was young and going and, oh yeah, kind of like he always made me feel like I had like the hood rat type mentality. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
And it's like, where are you now? Like this guy's been on unemployment for, I don't know, 40 years, Man. So to sell sausage door to door.
Right.
Sausage from like something, out of the newspaper. This is how old I am. And then he'd put them in his car in a cooler and drive around and sell them. And he just thought that was the bee's knees. So it's crazy. Like they get so smart, it's like, wow, you have all this education, but you're not doing anything with it.
Right.
And if you meet anyone, I think that's super, you got their shit together, they are no one special. And they'll tell you. And the funny thing about it is people bang their head against the wall because everybody just wants to know the secret. Like anyone that's well-to-do or they've made good money or whatever, it's like, just tell me what I have to do it. Like what school do I need to go to? What education did you have? When did your light come on? My light came on when I outworked the shit out of everybody I know.
Can you please repeat that?
I'd outwork the shit out of everybody I know. Would get up earlier. I don't know, still to this day, Melissa and I laugh all the time because I'll look at her and go, babe, it's Monday. And she'll be like, it's Saturday. And we'll argue because there is no day to us. A lot of people Monday through Friday thing and then go back 27 steps on a weekend, but I only accrued 2 positive steps in the week. You wonder why you keep falling back, right? We don't know or give a shit what time it is, what day it is, whatever. If there's things to do, we do it. And if there's things not to do or pressing so heavy, we go celebrate and enjoy and go somewhere. But anyways.
What do you think was the turning moment where because you obviously at some point you had a poor person's mentality because you were poor, you were living without, and then you went from a poor person's mindset to a growth mindset, if you will. What do you think was that trigger for you? Do you think it was like your paper route, your first job, or?
Well, let's define poor. Let's define poor real quick because a lot of people.
Please.
Like, oh man, I was poor when I was a kid. You want to know what poor is? You want to know what poor is? My mom bought a car for $50. It didn't have reverse. It didn't have heat. We lived in Washington State. We would drive it up a hill, the little ski hill that was in the neighborhood. Well, I say neighborhood, but 30 miles away is a Volkswagen hatchback.
Okay.
And we would drive, and it was like 4 different colors and shit and mismatched tires. It literally didn't have reverse. If we parked in a grocery store or some shit like that, she had to make sure that it was in a spot where we could push it out of the way, right? Or push it forward, because if we got boxed in, we'd be right. It didn't have reverse. And then lots of times you have to push start it because it just was such a hunk of shit. So first of all, that was our car. I remember specifically only eating top ramen, not mac and cheese, generic everything. I mean, we never really eated anything with protein unless it was a hamburger helper type thing. Okay. Back to the story of the car. We drive it up the hill. My sister and I would get out of this ski hill, and it was like 5 miles long, right? Coming down. She would coast the car down. My sister and I would pick up aluminum cans and fill the back of the car. And that was our extra money. That's poor. So that's why.
Wow. I have not heard that particular story. That is poor.
Mm-hmm.
And that does something to a person that most that have never been at that level can understand psychologically, right?
Yep.
Especially as a child.
Well, and that's why you lie your ass off at school. I remember months, because just like here in Texas, right? We call it two a hell. You have 2 months in the winter that are hell. because your heater is going nonstop. It's $1,500 electric bills, right? 2 months. And then there's 2 months in the summer that are two of hell because it's so freaking hot. It's 100 degrees for 45 to 60 days. And again, it's like $1,500 AC bills. So there's two of hell. So when we were in Washington, it's a lot more than two. It's like 6, right? Because it's so freaking cold. And I remember not having the heat on, or my mom just leaving the heat in the house just high enough to where the pipes wouldn't freeze. We would wear our winter coats and shit in the house and cuddle up in blankets and go pick up wood. I remember putting wood in the car too and having the fireplace going all the time. I mean, that's poor. That's poor. So why I lied about that shit. You know, you have friends at school and they're talking about going on this vacation or trip, or they show up with their new Sony Walkman, or they, you know, they have all the shit and you don't. You just have shit. So you don't want to tell people that. So you lie your ass off. You lie about everything. And people would catch me and shit all the time. And then I'd just try to keep spinning out of it, which is better. Right. So it was like, oh yeah, he's lying. He's full of shit, whatever. But the only thing that saved me is I was. So like if we went and did anything as a group of friends, I was always the one to climb the tree, jump off the roof. I would get kids to lay down under jumps and jump over them with my bike. I mean, I would do.
Why does that not surprise me?
I was just crazy. I guess I still am. I mean, my body has taken the toll. I have broke some shit. It's insane.
You've broken too many bones to count.
I'm limping. Yeah. So you were asking, I'm the king of diversion. Okay. So poor, going from poor to what? What was the end game?
What was the light switch moment where you went from having like, I am poor, to a growth mindset of like, no, I'm going to take this and I'm not going to be a victim. This is not going to be my reality. I'm going to take action and I'm going to change things. And I'm not going to let this be my norm. Cause I mean, 7 years old, that was when you first had your first job. I mean,
first job 7. So I would say when I was 5 or 6, I mean, life at home sucked. Hopefully I've established that or painted a clear enough picture of how shitty it was.
Very clear.
So, and I mean, there's people that are shittier. Don't get me wrong, you know, white privilege, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, I've been homeless, or we lived in a cardboard box. I get it. And I empathize for those people, but I'm just letting you know what that shit feels like. To be uncomfortably poor is uncomfortably poor. Sure, there's lower levels, but I mean, I'm not talking about some prima donna. Oh my God, you know, my parents wouldn't give me the lucky charms. They'd give me the generic. I mean, it's not that type of thing. Right. So anyways, I wasn't home a lot and I would go hang out with friends. And one friend particularly had like a go-kart and a little dirt bike. And his dad was always super cool, super involved. His mom and dad were awesome. I mean, he just had the nuclear family, older brother. They raced go-karts. He liked to skateboard a lot. So I got into skateboarding. I remember I bought with my paper route money at Kmart. I put a skateboard on layaway and I had to
layaway
$5 payments. Remember? Cause I like showing.
Oh yeah, of course.
I did layaway payments on the skateboard for like 8 months until I could get the skateboard. $5, and finally got the skateboard. So we started riding skateboards together. And I'm watching how much fun he has and the fun little things he has, like a skateboard or a go-kart or whatever. And he has a paper route. And I'm like, fuck, I get it. Like, you want fun shit, you got to take on more responsibility. So with this needing to be said, my grades in school, with me being a liar, me not really believing in the whole system anyways, even as a kid. I mean, D's and F's. If I got a C, I'm like, yeah, I'm out of the heat. Right? Like parents always said, no D and F. And I was like, C, good enough. Like C was see you later. On to the next thing.
Oh my gosh.
I would always get straight A's in anything that was vocational, right? Like wood shop, metal shop. I would dominate. I would make my own shit and just crazy. And I'd go around the class and help everybody else. And I was in my own groove, you know?
Yeah.
And same thing with mechanics. I'm a hardcore mechanic at heart. And the mechanics is what gives me the logistic mindset. Like for me to set things up or think ahead, see ahead, you know?
I like that. Anyway,
with the kid, you know, I noticed that I need to get a job. And it's the only way I'm going to break out of this poor thing. And by the time I left my house at 17 years old, I had an RX-7 that I bought that I completely rebuilt. That was just like, I mean, it was a dolly car. It looked so good. And I taught Melissa how to drive a stick in that car. And the minute I did, I never saw the car again. We traded cars. She had an automatic, which I hated, but.
And how many years later, kind of the same way?
She loved it. And then by the time I was 19 years old, I had a Porsche. Yeah. I mean, I was getting it quick, and I knew where, you know, I was like, oh, well, this isn't hard. You know, I work, I buy this thing, then I work on this thing, I make it worth more money while I'm saving more money. I combine the sale of that thing with the money, get something nicer, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, just climbing the pyramid, you know? And so by the time I was in my 20s, I mean, I would work construction or car sale or whatever, but I always had a side gig going. I even do now. I've got cars for sale at a buddy's.
You've got multiple side gigs.
I've got houses, you know, that I'm renting or refurbishing that we're listing. I've always got tons of things going. So that was the turning point for me, is just to see that it was my way out. At a young age.
Right. So you were able to have a vision that your life was going to be different, not only financially, but the way your family looks, the way your marriage looks, the way your relationship with your future kids that weren't in existence right now. You had a vision. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Melissa and I talked clearly about, it was spooky almost, because when we were 16 and 17, I would say by the time we're 18, by the time I'm 18 and she's 17, so a year and a half into the relationship, I was like, we're going to be married by the time I'm 22. I go, we're going to have a kid probably the same year. We're going to have a house the same year, because can't bring a kid home to a house, not having a house. And I said, by the time I'm 25, I will make and secure 6 digits and stay at 6 digits or higher from that point on. I used to draw this picture, and I told her that, you know, I would own my own business and what I'd name it and what it looked like. And I'd always say, you know, I couldn't tell. I was realistic with my dream and goal, you know, but I was like, I can't tell you, you know, exactly where it'll be, or exactly, you know, if it'll be cars or motorcycles or what it'll be or what type of business that I'll do. But, you know, it'll be progressive. This house that I drew all the time, like our dream house to live in, with palm and white and very Sano, very, very block style. It's damn near identical to our Cabo house. Yeah. So, and we were married at 22. I bought not only a house, but a brand new house for $135,000 on 2 acres in Washington. We bought a brand new car to bring our brand new baby home. We had a boy first, a girl second. We even said they'd be 18 months apart. They're 17 and 1 day short of 18 months. So when you talk about shit like that and how powerful your mind can be and who the fuck you can become if you really want to do it, it's spooky as shit, because you can do it. I'm nobody special. I'm a blubbering fucking idiot. I go from cussing to crying to, you ask me a question, I jump all over the place. I am clearly showing anyone that this scatterbrain kid from Spokane, Washington, if he can make it, well, Christ, so can I. I mean, nobody's special. I promise you. Just nothing I do is special. It's just, I think it's special in which the way I prioritize, the consistency. I think you'll see that in Melissa too. Consistent as a mother, right? Consistent. So true. And prioritizing is what is going to change your life. That's it. Like, stop reading self-help books. God, I hate that shit. I hate when I hear people, oh my God, I read this. It so spoke to me. Oh, I needed this right now. No, you don't. No, you don't. What you need is, don't waste 3 hours on that shit. Go out and fix your fence. You know, falling down for 6 years. Go maintain the car. The lights on the car aren't Christmas lights. They're telling you it needs shit. Go take it and have it fixed. Like, quit taking things off, and it goes back to that statement where I said, none of this is going to matter unless you're okay with yourself by yourself. And what I mean by that is, if someone told you right now, Lauren, you have the whole rest of the day to do whatever you want to do, most people are going to go, really? I'm gonna pour a drink. I'm gonna call a friend. We're going to go F off. We're going to, because it doesn't happen very often, right?
Right.
Okay. The reason why it doesn't happen very often is because your priorities are effed. If you would have taken that one day and knocked out 5 things that have been on your list of who God knows whatever for 4 years, the next time somebody says, hey, you got the whole day to da 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 da, you would probably do the same thing. Or maybe I would split it 3/4 and 1/4. 3/4 of the day, I would go do priority shit again. And I'd give them a little something towards the end of the day, like maybe take my wife out to dinner, or we go get ice cream, shit, right? But every time I have free time, it's look at the priorities first. And that is going to get somebody so much further, so much further. So that's why I'm saying you got to be okay with yourself by yourself. You got to look at the mirror. And if you don't like how you look, you really have to write it down and start changing.
So what do you think was the thing that made you get to a place where you're like, I'm not going to have the same marriage. I'm not going to have the same parenting style. I'm not going to have the same life when you and Melissa got together? Like, what was the thing that made it different? Because people that grow up like that feel that way all the time, but they don't make it work. Like, how did you actually make it manifest?
I mean, I sound like a broken record, I guess, but it's prioritizing it. Prioritizing it. Do you think I liked to get up at Sunday morning and go to church? I mean, it sounds like a bad thing, but I'd rather, I'm a mechanic or whatever. If I've got like a dirt bike in my garage or a street bike or, stuff to do in the yard, I would rather go take care of those things than, go to church or make sure you do that because it's good. It's good for your kids. It's good for, do you know what I'm saying? Or
yeah.
So, what was the question again? I got distracted.
Because I'm thinking of the listeners that are like, yes, I get this. Yes. But how
do you implement it?
They're stuck. What do you think it made you different that you are actually implementing it, and you've been implementing it for decades now?
This is going to sound rough. You ready?
But that's what I need.
Maybe most people, this is going to sting because I think it's 90% of the population.
Yeah.
They haven't been hurt bad enough. The pain hasn't cut deep enough for them to stop their procrastinating, stop worrying about other people, stop picking on all the other, low-hanging fruit that's lower than them, so much so that they can bully them, but they won't get anything back. Makes me feel a little bit better. Get my chest out, right? 90%, I'd say, of the population is so worried about how the world perceives them or what the other people are doing that they just won't block that shit out, put their head down and say, this is my current situation. And again, you got to be okay with yourself by yourself. Look in the mirror, have the hard talk. You don't like the way you look, it's really easy to fix. I'm sorry, but it is. It's really easy. Here's one for you. A bad decision made more than once is a freaking choice.
Please say that again. Yeah.
Bad decision.
You might need to say it 2 more times.
A bad decision made more than once is a choice. And until you're okay with that shit and eat that piece of humble pie, because that's a humble piece of pie the size of a football field. And once you get that down and then start being honest with yourself, do I really not have the body that I want because I make another bad decision again? Oh, and it was my choice? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Nancy, but that's why. That's why you don't look the way you want. Or that's why you're not at the level of health or the level of fitness or the level of finance. Why your relationship isn't where it is? Because you know what the bad decision is, but you chose to do it again. Yeah. And if you stay there, because we're a creature of habit, we'll repeat anything, right? We like, when I say consistency, consistency is good on the positive, but it's also just as effective on the negative. If you stay in that space where keep making bad decisions over and over and over again, you know what you get? Lauren, I'm trying to do everything I can to lose weight. I just can't get a break. I can't. You know what? All this stuff works for other girls, but doesn't work for me. And I make a joke because we're in health and fitness, and I hear it with my wife all the time, and she'll never say this shit, but I'll clearly say it. Yeah. It's not, and I'm not picking on women, guys, same way. Okay, guys, financial. If your husband or your man or your partner or whatever, if you guys aren't where you are financially, it's because you make a bad decision.
You go to Starbucks learning every day.
I'm not saying everybody's perfect. I make bad decisions all the time, and I pay greatly for some of them, because the more you trust yourself, the heavier you lean into something. And when it doesn't work, it can sting. Like big mistake, like big mistakes, not little mistakes.
So I have a few people in mind that I can think about. I mean, granted, being in the health coaching world, I mean, there's way more than just a few people, but like the people that are hearing this, they're like, oh, I'm feeling a little guilty right now because he's speaking to me. What do you think needs to happen in their brain for them to stop choosing the bad decisions that are keeping them in this vicious cycle of really the habits that are not helping them get healthy and are keeping them from losing the weight that they've struggled with? Because I mean, that's just one example of many things that people are in a vicious cycle, but that's what we see a lot in this world.
So I used to be, a fun little story. So I used to be that way, like in the car business, right? Because I specifically chose commission sales because there's not supposed to be a cap, right? Like the more you sell, the more you make. And so
you knew that you're a hard worker and you're like, screw this, I'm going to be awesome.
I'll dominate. So I did. After a couple of years, I think I got so good and so skilled in the car thing that I did really, really well. I was always like number 1 or 2 every store I went to. Then they started having me run stores, manage stores, GM stores, VP of multiple stores, start startups, whatever, go in sometimes when something was completely taken a colossal, and then go mop it up, fix it all. That's the most fun, right? Like you go in hour and you just got to start from, scratch. So there was that, there was that type of focus that when you I got side railed again. I was thinking of something else. See, everybody's like, God damn, he's borderline dementia.
No, you're just very ADD. No, the question was how is it that these people that keep making the same choice?
Right, get unstuck. Get unstuck.
Yeah, like exactly.
Sorry. So I was stuck. See, shows right there. Nothing special. So why I used the car biz thing as an analogy is because I thought I could become a millionaire someday, doing car sales. And when I found out the real money cap was somewhere between 250 and 500, that's all they were going to pay you. And you're going to sacrifice your life to do it.
I was about to say, weren't you working like 60, 70 hour weeks?
70, 80. And sometimes 7 days in a row, and not just 7 days and I'd have a day off. Like 7 would turn into 11, and then they'd bonus me to day, and just crazy shit. So why I used the car analogy thing is I was stuck there, and in that working environment, I found a mentor, and he said to me something that made my eyes this big, and he goes, hey man, you can keep telling yourself this shit in your head over and over again, and it just gets parked here or there or here or back. You know what I mean? Like how many inner dialogue conversations do you have? I mean, we are our own best friend. We're our own best enemy. We know all our secrets, right? Mm-hmm. So there's too much going on. He goes, ink is permanent, memory's abstinent. If you keep telling yourself, you're going to fix this. You're going to change this. Or I remember what I did wrong and now I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. He goes, bullshit. You need to start writing down what you fail at, write down what you're good at, write down what you don't like, write down where you want to be, start writing things down. And when you do, it's a gross out purging of information. You'll have pages of random shit and you're like, I gotta organize this. So this has to do with my health. Okay, my body, finances, relationship, you know what I mean? My kids. Then you'll start putting those phrases or sentences in the right categories. Then prioritize the category. What would be number one? What would be first beneficial in that category?
Right.
Or
So
you have 7 categories. What category is most near and dear to my heart? I think I've already shared my 4, right? They literally kill me. So that's my number one. And my number one always has 2 or 3 things pending, right? Yeah. And then number 2, if I have time, right? Sometimes number 1 keeps me in category number 1 longer than I want
for
to.
a while.
But then it's category 2, category 3, category 4, and you can see where dirt bikes and cars and extra fun shit, it's all the way over here in category 7.
Right.
So it's just, but by writing this stuff down, you can actually also check things off. And it feels really good to go put a line through it and just go, and finally.
Yes.
And it's out of one, just writing it down, it's out of your head, at least. Not totally, but some. You've given yourself the grace to like commit to it. And then when you see it in writing too, you're like, oh, that's bad. Or I do that shit a lot. Like I only go to ice cream every once in a while. No, you don't. No, you're there 4 or 5 times a week, buddy. And that's why you don't, that's why it's no bueno. So just start taking it out of your head and putting it on paper. And I wouldn't even suggest doing it in a phone, I'm going to open notes. I'm going to make categories. Nah, that shit just gets lost in write it down and
literally
put it somewhere where it's going to like, scratch at you like a cat every day. You know what I mean? Like you always see it and you're like, oh shit. Because it's easy for us to hide from things, right? That's comfortable. It's hard. It's hard to face the fact that, am I okay with myself by myself? Because most people aren't. Even me. I'm not 100% happy, but doing progressive things to try to make it better and make myself better on a week to week or a month to month.
Why do you think the person, I mean, and this describes plenty of people, but I have a few specific people in mind. The person that continues to choose the choices that keep them locked in a place. Why do you think they choose that?
Fear.
A bad place.
Fear. Number 1.
It's fear.
Yeah. It's fear. But if somebody put a gun to their head and said, I'm going to blow your brains out if you just don't stop doing this shit, guess what? For the next 3 days, they would be like,
they'd be more fearful.
And then all of a sudden, if the gun didn't show up, what do? They start slipping because the pain isn't bad enough. And I think why it worked for me at a young age and why I'm so, and I'll tell you right now too. And my wife will tell you that my number 1 nemesis is I am too much focused at this point.
Yeah.
I've done so many things and I've accomplished so many things that it's like I keep raising the bar up to go, okay, here's the next thing I want to hit. Here's the next thing I want. And she's like, you're never going to be done. Like you always say you're almost done and she goes, the minute you get done, and she goes, and your projects have turned into bigger and crazier shit. And she goes, usually before you're even cleaning up the mess, you're like,
you're on to the next.
I thought of something else. Else. Let's do this. And it's horrible. And I got to work.
No, I don't think it's horrible. No, I actually don't think it's horrible. There in Japanese, there's not a word for retirement because they believe like if you don't have a purpose of your day, what's the point in living? And so once you have accomplished goal number 1, 2, and 3, you move on to 4, 5, and 6.
Well, I'm not a young bumpkin anymore. And I tell you what, everybody that I meet nowadays that is older that I admire because their wit is so good and strong, or physically they still look awesome, or you hear like all the projects that they're, that they're responsible for, and you're just like, holy shit, you're 78,
Yeah.
So the thing to me, what I admire is that, as you get older, you have to understand that if you slow down too much, and this is the bad thing, because this whole conversation has been, you're too lethargic. You're too lethargic physically, you're too lethargic mentally. And I mean, yes, I'm calling everybody out, and I'm not saying I'm immune to it, because there's days where I just wake up and go, you know what, it's soup, salad, and movie day or whatever. There's days like that too, or there's days that are just an epic fail. And I look at most and go, it's 11 o'clock. And I'm like, I just want to go crawl back to bed. Like everything I'm doing, everything I'm touching is just a shit show. So the call out that I'm giving everybody right now is, you're never going to be younger than you were today. Right. So you just get older and time goes by so fast. I got to inject this stupid little story. So I got a friend that he used to, 15 years we've been friends. How we met is we moved into a neighborhood when we first moved here to Texas. And he used to come up to me all the time and go, dude, you got to slow down. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's another day. What do you do? God, I mean, I'm watching you work on the house, and then I'm watching you work on the car, and then I watch you clean all the stuff. And dude, have a drink, calm down. That guy still today lives in the same house, works the same shitty job, drives the same car. And I don't say that as a demeaning thing, but he literally has gone nowhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not isolating him, and I think this will bring it full circle. If you stop challenging yourself and stop putting crazy goals out there and stop overcommitting yourself, you just become a glob, physically, mentally, whatever. You're not going to be this bright-witted, engaged 78-year-old person,
Yeah.
It's like, and I hate to say it, but, I look at that friend of mine and it's like you're waiting to die.
Yep.
Like
exactly.
You're mid 50s. I mean, holy shit, dude, you got hopefully 25, 30 years. Like, let's go. I mean, I believe this too. I fully believe this. And you're a go-getting son of a bitch too. So you'll believe this or agree with it. Would you not say in 5 years' time, you can change every aspect of your life so dramatically that someone wouldn't even look at you physically. Somebody wouldn't even notice you. You look nothing like you did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Your business looked nothing. Was it even an idea in your head 5 years ago?
Nope.
In 5 years, and 5 years is a blink in your life. In 5 years,
totally.
you can be and go and do absolutely, completely everything. You can rewrite your whole life in 5 years. I'd say 3.
I was about to say, I don't think it even
settle
5, but yeah.
Settle it in 5 to where that would continue the rest of your, like, you could make it happen in 3, but then you could tune it. So like in 5 years, it's like, boom, I'm on rinse and repeat. Like we're going. And then when you get that breath or that feeling in your chest, you're like, shit, fucking all that was so hard and I can do anything. I can do it.
I mean, I know that you don't like the self-help books, but one self-help book that basically is this topic, it's the 12-week year. And it's basically like taking 12 weeks to do something that people will try and do in a year. And it's action. It's like, no, just do it.
Well, at least you didn't say The Secret. Everybody likes that because everybody wants to be like, clap my hands, check in my mailbox. Oh, there's a check. It's $3.66, but it's a check.
Yep.
So it's, yes, I can see it being helpful, especially books that, well, kind of in the earlier conversation, what did I bring attention to? That book that you really liked, it's about categorizing and consistency and writing shit down and taking ideas and putting them into motion. I mean, that to me is all the self-help one needs,
True.
quit keeping it in here and just manifesting over it and thinking about it and just making it so complicated in your brain instead of just start making baby steps.
So you have accomplished a ton in your 51 years on this planet. One of your biggest accomplishments, I assume, is raising your kids and creating two adults that are incredible humans. I know them personally myself, and holy crap.
They're good.
You and I've told you and Melissa multiple times that y'all should write a book on parenting.
Well, I can't take that credit because, like I told you, the first 15 years of their life, I am not exaggerating, I was MIA. And when I was home, I was 100% in the kids. I mean, 100%. I would take Tanner and put him on my back, one of those little strappy things, and I would go do all the yard work. And he would live on my back all day long. Like I'd look back and he'd be out, you know, and then he'd come to again. He'd be Googling, you know, in my face, but he'd stay on my back for hours. I'd mow the whole lawn. I'd trim stuff. I'd work on this, work on a car, whatever. But like when I was home, I was all about my kids. But
right.
Melissa raised them. I mean, she was with them literally 90% of the time, the first 15 years. So that credit goes to her. And when you know what type of person Melissa is, it's like, well, duh.
Yeah.
How could such a down to earth, humble, sweet human being not have kids like that? You know?
Yeah, true. So at some point, you became a good parent, though.
Yes. Yeah. Melissa gave me the best gift in the world, which was to quit my job and come home and have a life. You know, she's like, I don't know what you're going to do, but just do whatever you want. And so, I mean, for the first 6 months, I'd scrub the house and I'd make comments like, keeping a house isn't that clean, or keeping a house clean isn't that big of a deal. I mean, I don't understand why women. I was doing all the right things. You know what I mean? I was winning that game. And she's like, good, girl, glad I brought you home. I mean, now through massive apologies, I was a fish out of water. I've never had an abundance of time. So I didn't know what to do or what to do.
Or not have to work. It's your first time in your entire existence, really, that you haven't had the fear of not having enough for your family from your own efforts.
Right. I didn't know what the hell to do. I mean, the money was good, so I didn't panic about not making bills, but I panicked because I was like, okay, what if we lose this income or the company goes away, gets sold, gets sued, whatever that we were, you know, collaborating with, and we have to pivot right back onto the other foot, which is me, like providing again.
Right.
You're asking me to quit and come home. The type of business that I do, I can't just ramp back up in 30 days. It would take 6 months, you know, to get things rolling again. So that was stressful. But then I started looking at it differently and I was like, okay, well, you know, I've pitched cars for a $5,000 transaction. What if I start doing houses? I mean, there's got to be way more money in houses. And I'm a contractor and I can go crack, you know, a cold beer, have 3 in the fridge, have stereo blasting, be running around in my underwear if I want, remodeling a house. And so I did. I bought a shit ton of houses and I remodeled them all myself. And we did very well with that idea.
You did. You're ahead of the game when it comes to business and real estate, for sure. I know that there's a lot of people that are trying to get into that world right now, and it's not quite as easy to get into the world. So would you have any advice for someone that would like to follow? Because you right now, y'all own how many properties that are just making income? We're down
to 15 now. Yeah, we sold we sold.
Make it sound like it's such a small number.
It feels a lot less than 21.
Only 15.
Yeah. And
what kind of advice would you have to someone that would like to get into that realm because they realize?
So there's all different levels, right? And how I started, again, back when I was 18. My first credit card that I got, didn't have any money, you know. I mean, I was never broke, but I'd always have like $1,000 in my account, right? Maybe
like
$5,000 a day. So I'd have like $1,000 in my account. Well, I got a credit card because my credit was immaculate when I started. funny story. When I was doing all of my work, mowing lawns, delivering papers, babysitting, washing dishes, working at a pizza place, just all the shit when I was young meaning prior to 18. My mom told me, well, you got to put your money in a bank, right? You can't just put it in your room or whatever. You got to put it in a bank. So think about this. I was depositing money and I would take it out and buy things, right? Like I bought myself a dirt bike and fixed it up, and I did the layaway on the skateboard. But so I was putting money in the bank. So for 5 years, this bank, little local bank, saw me depositing money. And they would ask me sometimes when I deposit the money, probably just to see if I was stealing it from my parents or selling drugs or something. And I'd always tell them, well, I mowed lawns all week, or I did this, or I babysat, or whatever. And I created a relationship. And I always still think to this day, you walk into a place, like stop sitting in Chick-fil-A in your car for 45 minutes waiting for your shit. Park it, go inside, get your food, whatever. So the same thing with a bank, right? I would go in, and I still to this day, I don't do the drive-through. I go in and I talk to people and create a relationship. So I did this with the bank. And before I turned 18, I wanted a GSXR street bike.
Okay.
Like it was the shit when in my day, right? Like if you had a GSXR, that was the equivalent of like a man having a Ferrari, right?
Right.
So I'm a kid and I'm like getting a GSXR. So I go to the bank and I say, hey, I've got like $1,800 in there. I want to buy this GSXR. It's $5,000, $5,500. They looked at me and said, we'll give you the money. And I said, but I don't have credit. And they said, well, you have credit with us because we see how hard you work, how you deposit your money.
Right.
And we'll do a loan for the bike. And I said, okay. And then they did a loan for the bike. I went and bought the bike, had it for years. A few months after you get the loan on the bike, what happens? Corporate takeover, right? So I got credit card offer. And so I'm like $5,000 on a credit card because they knew the equity on the bike was like 7, right?
Right.
And I think I gave them like my $1,800 and I did a loan for like 4. So there's equity in the bike. So it created the, you know what I mean? The delta to, figure. And I'm like, oh shit, this is what leverage is all about. Right. So I had a credit card and I started buying $1,000, $1,500 cars. We would go to Seattle because the market was completely different. And to answer your story. So people that want to make a difference, here's how you do it. Whether have very little money. Okay. I used leverage. I didn't use my money because people say, well, I got to save. And that's the problem I have. I can't save to have the extra money to go do this thing that would, you know what I mean, to start the stair step. Okay, well, I'm not saying go max out your credit card, but if you could take $2,000 or $3,000, like with me, I went and bought these cars. I went over to Seattle and we would drive back and I'd fix them up and then I'd list them and sell them in Spokane and I'd make $2,000 or $3,000 a car.
Right.
And after I did that 2 or 3 times, guess what? I don't need the credit card anymore. I have my profit that I'm using.
Right.
I'm rolling my profit. And instead of buying 1 car at a time, I'm buying 2 cars or 3 cars. And then cars turned into, or money that I made from that, bought us a hot tub, finished our basement. Again, see how it allows you to, you know what I mean, pivot into other things that you really want done. My wife was pregnant. She was telling me, I can't do the summer. I need air conditioning. Okay. So I flipped a bunch of stuff. I made the money. I got air conditioning. And then I got us a hot tub. And then I finished the basement because I knew the kids were coming and we made the whole basement a playground for the kids. And so you can do little transactions like that, or with real estate, you can do bigger transactions. I have a friend that owns a house outright and it kills me. I don't want to tell him what to do, but it kills me that he owns this house outright. And I know he does that because for him, it makes him feel extremely secure. He's had a household. Right? Makes him feel extremely secure that I can't lose my house and I don't have to worry about my wife and my babies and whatever.
Right.
But his house is worth $1.5 million. I'm not saying go in the hole, but take $500,000. Take $500,000. Put $100,000 down on 5 houses that are like $250,000. fix them and flip them, and that turns into $1 million. And if that scares you, okay, fine. Then just take out $100,000 on a line of credit leveraged against your free and clear $1.5 million home. I guarantee you'd walk in a bank, they give you 100 grand like that day. Like, here, just sign your name, just
absolutely.
Yeah, the guy's not going anywhere. He owns his house. He's got, a bunch of kids, and he's been there for 10 years. So take that money and go get more assets. How you become rich is by leveraging money to acquire assets. It's that simple. And if you don't do it, I'm not saying you can't get rich, but you're going to have to develop a widget or go viral on TikTok, like here from young generation, right? Oh man, I just need to hit the payday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I guess that's a way of thinking. I'm not that way, So I tend to make fun of it. I come from the school of hard knocks, where it's like, roll up your sleeves and just start busting ass and don't stop until you hit it, But I use that explanation because it doesn't matter if you're starting at little to no money, or you do have money and you're just afraid to use it.
Right. I'm seeing a theme across the board of all of these things that the outside world would say you're very successful, and you're very successful in business, you're successful in your marriage, you're successful as a parent. All of these themes, it did not happen overnight. And there was a lot of heartache and turmoil and loss of sleep and stressful days. But all of them, you had a very clear vision of the end goal. And some took a little bit longer than others, but ultimately you're living what you talked about with Melissa when you were freaking a teenager.
Yeah. 100%.
Every day.
Yeah. And we've done it every year. I mean, really, there's been some shakeups, we've been together 30, she's going to be so mad. I don't know, 34 years, 3, 4, 5. At this point, it's eternity, but
right.
So it can't always be great. You know what I mean?
Right.
But again, that okay with yourself thing, when it's not great, before you start blaming your partner, ask yourself the real questions. Have I gotten soft? Have I taken advantage a little too much? Have I ignored a little too much? I mean, if there is any spark of love left in your relationship, the other person will tell you. If you're not listening or paying attention, again, now you're repeating your shitty decision.
And choosing.
Yeah.
And choosing.
You're choosing it to be hard. You're not trying to fix it. That's the thing. You got to be so freaking real with yourself, because if you're lying to yourself, you might as well just be trying to build a house on freaking water, that makes just as much sense.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, if you had the number one piece of advice for someone listening that is at a place where they are not successful in their finances, their personal relationships, or their health and fitness, what advice do you have to give them to get started and change the direction of and get out of that terrible cycle that they're in?
The sentence that I hate the worst hearing people say is "in my next life."
I hate that too.
Oh my God.
That's so true.
When people say that, I instantly hate them. You know what I mean? I don't mean to, but I do.
Totally.
Holy shit, you're so broken. Like, you probably need like therapy, or like, if you really believe that, oh my God, there's no round two. There's no rewind. There's no pause. There's no nothing. So if anybody can take anything from my all over the place podcast with you, thanks, by the way, would be to have that real conversation with yourself, wherever it may be. You may need to get out of your house, like drive down the road, go park in an empty field with a pad of paper and a pen, and just start calling yourself out on all of your manifested bullshit. We all have it. It's not like I've got it figured out. Do you have it figured out? Do you feel like all of your ducks are in a row?
Well, definitely not.
You're not professional. You should wait till all your ducks are in a row, then react. Do you know how stupid that sounds? Like, we're never going to have we're never going to have it figured out. But more importantly, the days that you're wasting is just pushing you further away.
So true.
From
so true.
Ever happening. Just like, think of something crazy, horrible that's happened in your life. Death in a family, a tragic car crash, you almost died. Didn't you, like when you broke your leg, or I broke my foot? I mean, when it happened, it was just like, oh my God, son of a bitch, this is horrible.
Terrible time.
Doesn't get any worse. Doesn't get any worse day one. What happens on day 5? What happens on month 2? What's it been? Years now? How often do you think about it? Hardly ever, right?
Correct.
Okay. Tragedy fades just the same way your goals are going to fade. The longer you keep telling yourself, there's going to be a day in my second life, I'm going to make it a priority someday, that shit fades. So
it does.
The advice that I give is, tomorrow, it doesn't matter if you're a criminal, you just filed bankruptcy, you're an absolute rolling piece of shit, you created Reddit, all of it. Like, give yourself every title that is just utter dog shit. Okay. You're a whole human being as a gift from a creator, or whatever your spiritual belief is. Tomorrow, you can wake up and be whoever you want to be. You don't have to carry that shit. Why people do blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Me too.
So, and once you do some successful things, you believe so much more in the latter, meaning I can do this. I can do, like people say, I can do the hard things. I can be a girl boss. I can be I can be a this, I can be a that. And again, I think social media is ruining it for people because they try to make it sound so cliche, so easy, so trending, you know what I mean? That everybody's like, oh yeah. And now they listen to that shit too, just like more noise. But you have to just sit down, be real, prioritize, and just stop repeating the bad decisions.
There was one clip that I hope that our podcast editors take out, that take yourself out to the field and stop the bullshit manifestation. That was classic.
It's true. Sometimes you have to get away, because think about it. Everything in your life becomes a crutch. If you spend too much time in your house, and your house is where you lie to yourself the most, meaning I get up in the middle of the night and I down a bag of M&Ms because there's no witnesses, right? Yeah. This becomes your haven, your safe spot.
Oh yeah. No,
okay. So in your safe spot, just like psychologically, I'm not smartest guy, but it seems, logistics, again, I've got, I think my logistics.
I think you're pretty damn smart.
So logistically, in my house, if I'm failing the most, why the fuck would I want to sit here and start having my come to Jesus meeting? I would want to go to a new neutral place that nothing can distract me, or nothing can seem safe, or nothing can seem common or repetitive, and go, okay, we're starting from like ground zero.
Here we go. Ground zero.
What am I doing?
It's never too late. I don't care how old you are. It is never too late to have that moment.
Oh, speaking of which, the 78-year-old guy that I was totally like enamored by.
Yeah.
He started at 71.
Are you kidding?
No, he said he was bankrupt, piece of shit, was in prison for like 10 years. And he was one of the most dynamic people I've met to date.
Man.
He's 78 years old. And I'm just like,
never too late, people.
Like, damn, I want to be like this guy,
Yeah.
In 6 years.
Stop waiting. Stop with the excuses and just freaking make the changes.
Wouldn't it make so much more sense to get on it now and then have all the rest of your life to just live this way better, higher,
instead of waiting till Monday, or waiting till the first of the month, or waiting till January 1? Yeah. Don't get me started.
Monday, the magic day.
The magic day. Well, Mick,
ironically, Monday. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Monday morning. I appreciate you so much. I actually would love to interview you again and just have a business, like just so we focus on business, because I do believe that you have, I mean, it kills me because I've known you now, it's crazy, almost for 10 years. And you always make the joke, I'm not the smartest guy. I disagree. Just because you don't have letters behind your name doesn't mean that you're not super smart. I think that you're one of the smarter guys that I've actually met, because you've lived life and you've learned from the bad shit that happened in your life or the mistakes that you made, and you actually applied those lessons. I think that is the definition of a really smart person, right? So I believe that you are one of the smarter people that I know personally in business. I would love to have you back where we just talk. And so that way, if people don't want to hear about business because they have zero desire, they don't have to listen to it. But I do think that you've got so much knowledge and, smarts when it comes to all things business. So if you wouldn't mind me having, not necessarily a part 2, but interviewing you again where we can just talk business, because I think, man, I really, it's honestly for personal reasons. I just want to pick your brain, just the business side of it. But I really wanted to have this interview today so that people can understand you are not just this, you are a man that is who you are today based on a lot of life experience, both good and bad.
First of all, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. But aren't we all though? Like we're all, our cookie crumbs is what makes us, like
True.
all of our footprints and stuff and the
so true.
accomplishments and the turmoils and stuff that we go through. But I think you said that beautifully, because you're right. I'm nobody special. I'm not, and if I can do it, and if you can do it, you're doing a great job, killing all your dreams, and then anybody is
absolutely
deserving of the life you can think of. I mean, that's
exactly.
the easiest way to, and
exactly.
Or not is you just don't believe it. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you for waking up early on this Monday morning.
You bet. I appreciate
it. and letting me interview you. I'm not even going to tell the audience where to find you because you don't do social media very often.
Yeah.
But
luck finding me.
I definitely, if there is anything that people want to ask you, would you like me to give them your Instagram? Because you do check your Instagram every now and then, yeah?
No.
Yes.
Not really.
Awesome.
And then it's just one more thing to do. I mean, not like I don't want to help people. I'm all about helping people. But you know how that goes. Usually it just turns into noise.
Totally. Totally.
You can absolutely devote a lot of time and attention and finding answers and giving them the answers. And it's like, for what? I see
what
they blow up Melissa about, can I have that recipe or da 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 da? And she's like, oh, okay, sure. And then it had nothing to do with her post. She looks it up, does it, gives it. And I'm like, I tell her all the time, I bet your ass they ain't never cooking that.
Totally. Totally.
Just jump through a hoop. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but I agree. If you want to take it from here, I would totally love to sit down and do a business thing.
Perfect.
And I think it would be helpful because we can touch base on all different aspects wherever you are currently financially, and how to keep going.
I'm specifically interested in, and we'll wrap this up because I know that we're past the hour mark, but I'm specifically interested because I would like to have another source of income that's, real estate related, which has nothing to do with what I'm making money with from my other businesses. But I would love to just pick your brain. And I think that knowledge a lot of people would really benefit from. So I'm going to have you back on the show probably next month. So we can talk all things business if you're okay with that. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Awesome. Meg, thank you so much. I adore you. And, you guys have a great Monday, a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Okay. And for the listeners, I appreciate you so much. If you loved this episode, please share, all of the things, leave us a review. And at the end of the day, remember, you get one life, you don't get a dress rehearsal. Stop choosing to stay in the vicious cycle and start taking action today. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, we've reached the end, but before we leave you, we'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion, and to us, your opinion does matter.
Now, the content in this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Share this episode with anyone you think needs to hear this message. And please remember to do your part of the bargain by rating, reviewing, and subscribing wherever you listen to the Made Fitz show.
We are Melissa and Dr. Fitz, and until next time, thank you for your time, support, and action you take in your own health journey. You get one life. Let's live it abundantly together.